Welcome back to Ask Eve. On today's show, we plan on making your screens hot with this spectacular lady. She's an established model, a producer, and a stage mom whose son is having a very productive year. She's agreed to join us today to share some tips on how to get your child started with a modeling career. And today's topic, it falls right in line with our So You Want to Be a Celebrity series. Everybody, I'd like to welcome Antoinette Love Ransom. So Antoinette, tell us, how did you get started in your career? What was the catalyst to getting you started?
Well, honestly, I moved to Los Angeles from Kansas City in 2001, I believe. Wow, I can't believe 2001. And then from there, I started auditioning and for projects. It was anything from like small movie parts to TV shows to game shows to music videos. So I kind of did like a little bit of everything at the time. And then at one point, it was 2004, maybe 2004, later toward 2005, I went back and I wanted to go to school for fashion design. Because at that point, I was a hip hop dancer and I couldn't dance anymore because my right knee. I tore the cartilage in my right knee. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, what else do I love doing besides performing on stage? And I love fashion. So I said, I was making my dance costumes at the time, but they weren't sewn correctly, but they looked good when they were on. So what if I learned how to actually sew and do patterns and stuff like that? So I went to fashion school. I think the second year I was there, I was offered an internship with Tyra Banks on her talk show. And I was part of her, she had like this Project Runway contest where she picked me and 3 other designers to be part of this Project Runway contest on her actual talk show. So I did that and then worked into a short internship, which got me a lot of exposure and experience and gave me insight of what people go through behind the scenes of TV. People don't know, but it's a lot of work and very last minute. From there, I started interning for Los Angeles Fashion Week, New York Fashion Week. I was doing fashion shows, showcasing my clothing line after I graduated school. And then I just fell in love with production and event production because me interning for LA and New York Fashion Week gave me that event production experience. And I'm like, I'm kind of more interested in that than me being a fashion designer. And that's what kind of segued me into being brave enough to start my own small production company, which is Exhibit Ambush. And I started that in San Diego. So, and that's more of a novelty movement that I started. It's fashion designers, it's artists, it's musicians, it's everybody that's creative get together collectively, and we donate our time and our energy to these local nonprofits. So that's been a passion of mine to like kind of give back. I said, what if I can like be creative and showcase my talent and give back? You know, right. That's great.
I think giving back is extremely important because it does show you, it shows like, anybody that's in our industry, because everybody wants to like get a little break here and there. And if you can give like your pearls of wisdom to somebody and they can take that and run with it and become, a success story from it, then that becomes more of a success story for you as well.
Right. Most definitely. And I enjoy that. And I got artists and other people that are like-minded that really enjoy giving back. And, they love what we do. So right. We put on these creative events and then we'll donate everything to the nonprofit. Now, honestly, we're at that point where we're transitioning Exhibit Ambush and we're focusing less on events because, as you know, events are costly. Yeah. And we're focusing more on editorial styling, costume design, set design, those type of things that are small projects where we can get a budget from companies and start really making a name for ourselves.
Yeah, you've been doing Project Ambush for how many years?
5 straight years. 5 straight. I started it 7 years ago, but I've been doing it consistently 5 straight years. And it's a handful. It's not easy. It's challenging sometimes.
Yeah.
But I enjoy it. It's my passion.
Yeah. Folks, you couldn't even believe how much is involved in what she goes through on a daily basis up until the point of the event. And then once the event is over, I would assume that you have a lot of things that you have to wrap.
Right. Post-production, press, and follow-ups with sponsors. And yeah, sponsors, that's huge because they pretty much donate a ton of product or they donate money. Usually I get more product sponsors than I get more monetary sponsors. That's the challenge. So it'd be nice to meet like a company, I'd be a big monetary sponsor or get a huge grant to kind of take it to that next level like we want to, because that's what it takes. It takes money to do those type of events, because we do big events. We don't do small events.
Yeah. So investors, if you're listening, and we'll definitely be putting some information about Antoinette so you can know how to reach her if this is regarding business. So, once you finished doing Project Runway, and then you were doing, the ambush events, now we're going to fast forward. Now you have an extra addition to your life, which we can see in our screen, Sammy.
Right.
And so tell me, how did you come to decide to pursue his career, get his career launched as a child model?
Well, it started about when he was 6 months. I started submitting his pictures to different companies. I didn't have him signed up with an agency at all. Like, I didn't want to go there. I just wanted to kind of test and see what people thought of him. And I got feedback from companies that were like, is he with an agency? And I'm like, no. But when I got the feedback, I said, okay, red flag, maybe I need to get him an agent. And we started out with a small local agency, which the agent was sending him out on things that weren't really beneficial, but it gave Sammy that exposure and experience of being in front of the camera. And I think when he was a year old, I decided to switch agencies and focus more on LA and getting him kind of with big companies in LA and getting auditions. The challenge was driving back and forth from San Diego to LA and going to these auditions. Because as you know, Eve, you can get like 2, 3, 4 callbacks before you actually book the job. So just imagine being a mommy with a kid in the car and driving back and forth 2 hours to and from San Diego just for callbacks, and you're not even sure if he books it.
And since this is technically an international show, for those of you who don't know, who haven't worked in the Hollywood circuit, we both share the same, Antoinette and I both shared the same thing. When I was working on John Kerwin's show, your drive time, that in and of itself from San Diego to LA is, on a good day with no traffic, 2 to 3 hour drive.
Right.
And that's with no traffic. If there's traffic, if there's gridlock, I mean, you could be sitting there for 4 or 5 hours. And one thing you can't do when you're auditioning is be late. You can't, they don't care. Nobody cares in Hollywood. They will tell you, move closer.
Right.
And I'm much like you. I was the same way. I didn't have a desire to live in Los Angeles. I wanted to live on the outskirts, but I commuted all the time. And it's a brutal drive. It's brutal. So I can imagine, and having a child on top of it in the car for all that time.
Right.
I'll bet you he slept all the way home.
Sometimes he did and sometimes he didn't. I would have to pull over and stop different places just to kind of get out and walk around and get some fresh air, because sometimes it'd be gridlock and traffic. Like, the 405, it just sits there. You're not moving. So sometimes we'll be sitting on the 405 for an hour and a half, and I'm like, oh, no, I can't do this. So I'd pull over for an hour or two and see if traffic would start moving a little bit, and then I'd get back in the car. But I remember the big company that he worked for was Peak Kids Clothing. So that was the big company. And once he did a shoot for them, they loved him. They started using him all the time. They were giving him clothes, which is great. And I knew he had a niche for it, because I knew when he was in front of the camera, he would just light up. Like, he was just one of those kids that just enjoy it, where you didn't really have to force him to do it. He's like, he just wanted to do it.
Do you see that a lot? Do you see a lot of kids when you're going out on these gigs where they're just not cooperative?
Yeah, I see the mothers and the parents forcing them to do it because the money's good and they want their kid to have the exposure and opportunity, but the kids don't want to do it. They're like, no, mommy, I don't want to do it, and you see the mom bribing them with toys and snacks and everything to get them to jump in front of the camera. It shouldn't be like that. It should be where the kid enjoys it. See, Sammy's the opposite. Sammy, he enjoys it, and he actually starts crying when the director will say, cut, we're done, and he go home. Then he'll start crying. So that's how your kid just has that talent to do it.
Yeah, that's interesting. So you mentioned that you got hooked up with an agent right away.
Right. I did. I did.
So how difficult was that?
Well, I think it was easy for me and Sammy because Sammy was actually had a very versatile look. So he could pass not only for black or white, but he could pass for mixed and other ethnicity. So it was easy to get him booked with an agency, like really easy.
Yeah.
But I can see how it can be challenging for some parents that do have cute kids, but sometimes their look is not marketable. I don't know the nice way of saying that, but I think that's the best way to say it. You know?
Well, because people have to remember at the end of the day, and I'm coming from a producer's standpoint, it's a business. It's a money-making business. That's why you can't be late when you're going to auditions. It's not that we don't care. It's just that we have a very tight schedule to obtain. And if we fall like 15 minutes short because we're waiting for somebody who got stuck in traffic, it's not a good thing, because then we're thinking, well, if we do hire them, they could potentially be late. The other thing is, it's a money-making business. So when it comes to marketability, when I'm casting for things, I'm looking at, hundreds of headshots and comp cards and looking at demo reels and things. And I'm looking for a specific look. Right. And sometimes I would, I think with children, it can be a little challenging because their looks are developing, And
then sometimes, Eve, what'll happen is like when we did the Old Navy gig, he had 3 callbacks with Old Navy and we booked it. And then we got there and he fit one of the outfits they had for him, but they thought he was too small for the other outfit. So even those situations where sometimes they don't even use him, but they'll pay him for the job, but they don't use him because they don't have the right clothes for his size or something like that. So we've been in those situations too,
Yeah. That's a good point, because you don't know. Like, I mean, when I was doing background, I was always told that I had to bring up to, 5 or 6 different outfits because nobody's going to carry my size, And I mean, at the time I was, 4'11" and like 100 pounds. So right. Nobody had, clothing to fit me. So, but that was different, working more on television, but, yeah, so they don't always bring all of the sizes and the clothes that they need. So that's interesting. So now primarily, is almost all of his work coming from an agent at this point?
Well, when we first started, most of the work came from me. I was just doing a lot of cold calling.
So what about like headshots, comp cards, demo reels? Like, what would be your take on that? Because I know with a lot of the child talent that I've worked with in the past, whether it be for commercials or music vid, I would just tell them just to send me just any old snapshot, because, I don't expect parents to spend hundreds of dollars on headshots or a comp card for a child, because they're going to change so much.
Right. And they grow so fast, and you're right. And that's why every time Sammy has, they directly book him now. We don't audition. He just gets directly booked. Mm-hmm. They always tell me, take a snapshot of him with your phone and send it to us really quick. I mean, he has headshots, but they don't even look at that anymore. They just look at the snapshot you send on your phone and like, oh, okay,
Right.
So that's a good point.
It's also very important because when dealing with adult talent, I've had people send me a headshot and their hair is blonde and they have a tan or something, and then they show up and they've got like really super short hair and it's really dark. That's not what I thought I was getting. And I've been on places, where they've literally sent people home because you didn't fit what they were looking for. Yeah. So, so like if you're getting ready to audition and you've already sent a headshot, don't change your look.
You don't realize how important that is.
Yeah, don't change your look. But I mean, as children, since we're focusing more on child talent today, taking just a simple shot with your smartphone, make sure it's clear. It's not a blurry shot that annoys people. Because we want to really see what the child looks like.
And sometimes they'll even ask you to do like a short 30-second video of them playing with their toys or just walking around the house or just in their normal mode so they can see how the kid's personality is. So, and that's important. I know they did that for Abercrombie when I was sending them videos of Samby, which he was on hold for Abercrombie in New York for a while. And what happened, and let me tell you the downside of having agents. Agents in the end worry about profitability for their agency. They really... Honestly, I don't know if I should put this out there, but kids come second, their money comes first. So they're going to always market whatever talent they have that's going to make them the most money.
Sure.
So I remember when Sammy was offered the Abercrombie job, and they actually contacted us. They didn't contact his agent. And I told him he's represented by an agency. They contact the agency, and then she's pitching another one of her kids. So I'm like, really? So what ended up happening, we were going back and forth, and they ended up using that kid because that kid was 7, 8 years old, a little older, and they could work longer than Sammy. And they flew the kid to New York. The kid did the shoot, got paid thousands of dollars, end of story. But I was kind of disappointed that his agent did that because Abercrombie originally wanted my son. And I would have made it work. I would have got to New York and made it work. Yeah. So those are kind of the hiccups that you go through with some agents that are kind of chasing that dollar. That's the downfall of the industry. But I guess that's all agents, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
They want the most money for their talent.
Yeah. Now, what about, have you ran into this at all where the agents are like, hey, listen, we want your child to have some type of training and we want, like, do you ever run into that? Because I know I tell talent all the time, if an agent is pumping talent or headshots or any of that, run. That's actually illegal in most states. You are not.
Right. And luckily we haven't came across that. I know there's a lot of illegal, I call them scammers, but there's a lot of scammers that try to front like they have an agency and they're having parents pay for headshots and pay for this and pay for that. And all said and done, the parents are out of pocket like $1,500. And so I have to say to everybody listening, that is not legit. It's a scam. An agency would never ask you for money up front, never ask you to pay for anything up front. Matter of fact, my son's agency takes his headshots, and she don't call me and say, oh, Antoinette, you owe me $500. So, I feel bad for parents that don't know any better, and that's a lot of Midwest parents that have talented kids, and they pay all these scammers a ton of money. Yeah. They get their kids into the industry, but they don't really get them in. They just milk them out of headshots and just milk the parents as much money as they can get for classes and everything else. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I'm going to piggyback off of that too, because the other issue is if the talent agency is suggesting that you go to a photographer that they know or a school, an acting school that they know. Right. That is almost in every state illegal, and they can lose their license.
Most definitely.
And not a lot of people know that.
Yeah.
Not a people, managers, different story. There's a difference between managers and agents. I've mentioned this on the show before. A manager does not have to be licensed by the state to represent you. However, there is an agreement that is done, a contract that's done, and they usually only manage a small book of business. They don't have very many clients. Right. They may suggest, and they can because they're not licensed by the state where they operate business. An agency, however, has to be licensed by the state that they're working in because they deal with your money. Yeah. Sure. So anytime that they suggest that you go get headshots or training,
I know, and I really try to educate people on that because I meet a ton of mothers, especially mothers that send me messages on Facebook. They're always telling me I paid $700 for his headshot, paid $300 for classes. I'm like, why are you doing that? That's so scammy. What agency is doing that? And you'd be surprised. There's agencies in San Diego and Los Angeles that do that, unfortunately, because people don't know any better. So I try to be as genuine as I can and give parents advice on how to start and how to get their kids into the industry. So they're not spending tons of money and making big mistakes and looking back and they're like, oh my God, if I would have known that, I would have done something different.
And this is a large reason why we're doing this show today, because we want to educate people. We want to inform you so that you are aware and you know what to look for. So you know, it's super important to pay attention here because we're giving you some valuable content and information.
Right.
To sink your teeth into. So describe what happens when you go on a shoot, like from soup to nuts.
Okay, so let's see. Let me think of there's one company I really did like Sammy worked for. He's actually worked for them twice. Lands End. Have you heard of Lands End?
Yep.
I like this company because they're very professional. They treat the kids with so much respect, and they really value their time and take care of them. I'm not saying other companies don't, but Lands End kind of goes above and beyond. And maybe because they have the money to do that, you know?
Yeah.
But I know I was on set with him. We would show up early in the morning. So we'd leave San Diego at 4 in the morning, get on set about, 7:30, 8, because most of the Lands End shoots are in Malibu, California. So Malibu, California is really a drive from San Diego. Yeah. And they would rent out these beautiful houses in Malibu and take them over for the whole week to do the shoot, the editorial shoots. And we would show up, and the first thing they want us to do is they always have craft service, like catered breakfast, right? They have cooks there making the breakfast. So the first thing they want the kids to do and the parents to do is eat, because nobody likes a cranky kid or a parent that's been driving for hours and they haven't ate breakfast, right?
Yeah.
They kill us with kindness. So they had this whole craft catered breakfast. We show up, Sammy eat, I would eat, and then they would take his measurements, and then they would try on the clothes. Now, if the clothes didn't fit, I love them because they fit them right there. Like they have a seamstress on set. So the seamstress would literally like take in the pants and take in the shirt and everything. And I love that. I'm like, oh my God, that's great. So we wouldn't have to leave and come back the next day like when Sammy did Gap and everything else. They'd have us leave and come back 2 days later, because they had to take in the clothes. So after you get fitted, usually they like to shoot the kids, the smaller kids, 3 years old and 4 years old and under first. And then they shoot the in-between kids, 6 years old and up. They're after the smaller kids because they try to get the smaller kids out. So I remember this one day specifically in Malibu. They only had one look they wanted Sammy to do. One look, right? And there was 8 kids his same age that were there. So they thought the 8 kids were going to do an exceptional job, and Sammy might have, a short attention span because he had a photo shoot the day before. And he actually killed it. He actually had 3 or 4 different looks, 3 or 4 different outfits, and he was there 6 hours. Killed it. Didn't complain. Every time the photographer told him to do something, he did it. He loves being in front of the camera. So that's how, when I saw him at the Lands End shoot in Malibu, I knew, I said, this is what Sammy enjoys doing. He's natural at it. Yeah. All the other kids, after 2 or 3 hours, they were burned out. They were run on the beach in their diaper. They were like throwing stuff all over the place. And Sammy was just professional and just ready to shoot. So I think that was the best one, not only because of his temperament, but because the company really takes care of the talent. Like I have to give them hands down. Like they really spoil the kids.
Right.
And then once we're done, usually we're done, they'll have us take a picture of the voucher. So people that don't know what a voucher is, it's basically like a time card for talent, and they'll write down how many hours the model worked and how much they made. So Sammy's rate is $200 an hour. So they just multiply 200 times 6, and they put $1,200, and they'll put that on the voucher. And I would take a picture with my phone, and I would text it to his agent. And so she would have proof of how long we were there and proof of the voucher. And then from there, they have lunch catered in. So sometimes we'll eat lunch before we leave, and then we'll just leave. And sometimes we'll drive back to San Diego, depending on traffic, if it's light and it's before rush hour. But if it's heavy, we'll just stay like in Santa Monica and go to the beach and walk around the promenade or something like that.
Usually how long do they have him work for? Because I know there's child labor laws that they have to follow.
Yes, you're exactly right. There are child labor laws. So legally, technically what they're supposed to do is not work kids under the age of 4 past 4 hours. And in that 4 hours, they're supposed to have 2 30-minute breaks. So, but he was at Lands End for 6, and I didn't complain because Lands End gave us like an hour break, like in between, to where we could eat and walk away, get water, go to the bathroom. They're not on the kids like that. So I didn't really want to complain because they really took care of their kids and everybody and even the parents, they took care of the parents. So that's a very rare situation where I was like, okay, Sammy worked past 4 hours, but they really took care of us too. So you kind of have to weigh the pros and cons, because I didn't want to complain to his agent because 1, we got paid for the 6 hours, and 2, it wasn't really a big deal. Like it didn't bother me. And it didn't bother Sammy. Now, if it bothered Sammy where I saw him getting burned out after 3 hours like the other kids, I would have said something. I would have said, oh, okay, he's getting tired.
Yeah.
But he wasn't. He was having fun. He enjoys it.
When I was working with the Olsen twins, they were 14, and I was their stand-in and their double and their stunt person, and the kids would have to be in school because they were still of school age, and so their tutor would generally be on set with them.
Right.
And so I would imagine you run into that a lot as well.
I do. And the way it works is once Sammy hits 5, once he's 5, by law, if they book him for a photo shoot or commercials, but basically editorial shoot, we have to have some homeschooling or something there. Like he has to have his homework or something there. And we have to go over it in between, the editorial on our breaks. Because by law, technically, if kids are in the industry and they're at a school age, they have to have their homeschool teacher there or something. Because, they have to really enforce that. So by 5, I have to really make sure that I'm homeschooling him, and I'm technically homeschooling him. And so when we're on set, I can go through his academics and everything and keep compliant with the laws in California. That's really huge. Like most people don't know that, but that's huge.
Yeah. Yeah. They can get fined. They can, the production can be shut down. There's all kinds of parameters that can happen if they're busted for not, complying with the law.
Right.
So, and with kids working with child talent, it's a big, big deal.
Right.
They don't take that lightly by any stretch of the means at all. So, tell me, what do you think is going to be the next step for him? Because he's already doing well modeling.
Right.
He's only how old now? 4?
He's 3.5. He'll be 4 in December.
Yeah. So what's his next step? What is it you're going to have him do?
Well, here's the thing. I know his agent wants to push him towards commercials. And Eve, you've done commercials. And you know how demanding and how fast commercials are. And I think at his age right now, like I told her, I said he's okay doing print work. Maybe if we can get him like a little guest spot where he's not speaking on camera, or, behind the scenes or something like that, that's great. But I just worry about at his age right now, like when a director says, oh, Sammy, hit your mark, he'll hit it. But it's just that, commercials are just so fast. Right. So I told her, give him another year, wait until he's 5. And then I think Sammy will do great with commercials, because a friend of mine I think I sent you the video. He put together this Kickstarter video for this product that's coming out called the beeping or the bowling beeper or something like that. And me and Sammy were in that video. It's like an infomercial. So I just wanted Sammy to be in the infomercial just to see how well he does in front of cameras and see if he's comfortable, which he does great. But I just worry about the speaking part right now because he's so young. So I told her some kids are ready to do that at 3, but my son, I think he just needs to wait a little bit. It just depends on the kid. Kids are all different. So, but I think commercials are next for him. I'm not going to really force him into TV shows and movies. I think commercials is a step. And once he does well at commercials, then I'll say, okay, when he's 7 or 8, if he wants to get into acting, I'll back him 100%.
Yeah.
He's definitely used to the audition process. We've been to auditions where we're waiting for like 4 hours before we're seen. Yeah. Or we've been to auditions where we can just walk right in as soon as we walk in, and he just knocks it out, and then we're driving back to San Diego. So we've been on both extremes. It's kind of crazy, but it's true.
Yeah, I can imagine. It's, for parents that are out there, if you're thinking about getting your child involved in modeling or acting, that type of thing, I really think that Antoinette has, pointed out some very important things here. One is your child should really be able to express an interest in it. They should be comfortable in front of camera and be able to work well with others. Because it is a brutal business. It's it's a $1 billion making business. Like there's just no other way around that. And, for not old kids are cut out for it. Not all
Right.
people are cut out for it. Whether you're an adult or a teenager, it doesn't matter. It's not everybody is cut out for
And
it.
here's the thing, the younger you are, the less money you make. So when Sammy was 6 months to a year, when he first started out, he was only making $50 to $75 an hour.
Hmm.
When he turned like a year and a half, 2 years old, then he's making $150 an hour. And now his rate's $200 an hour. So the older you get, the more money you make. And that's why kids that are 7, 8, 9 years old, they're out there, if they book something like Gap, they're out there killing it.
Yeah.
Because they're making thousands of dollars,
Now, is that money gets put aside in a trust fund for him?
Yes, that's a good question. It does. So there's something called a Coogan account that parents have to get with their bank. It's KOOGAN, Coogan Trust Account. And that's the law. Parents have to do that. And they did that, and they enforced that because they try to protect kids, because way back when in the 80s, when we had like shows like Different Strokes and all that other stuff, parents are taking advantage of their kids and spending their money, and then when the kids grow up and they're adults, they don't have anything.
Right.
So what I do is I put majority of Sam's money in his trust. Now, don't get me wrong. He might get a check for $1,200. I might take $300 out to reimburse me for gas, hotel expenses, and everything I spent when I drove back and forth to LA.
Right.
But majority of everything I put in his trust fund, because that should be for him when he turns 18. It shouldn't be for me. I'm not the one working. That was him doing all that work.
Yeah. Yeah. So you can't pimp your kids out if you're thinking about doing it that way. It's not going to work.
Right.
That's awesome. I mean, this has been great, and I'm so glad that you had a chance to come on board and let people know about this. What about for yourself? What does the future look like for you?
Well, let's see. What I'm working on now is I'm getting ready for an event next month in LA. So I'm still doing events. I'm doing an event for Project Runway winner Ashley Tipton. She just won the last Project Runway. Really sweet girl from San Diego, but we're doing the event in Los Angeles. But now I want to focus, like I told my Exhibit Ambush team, I want to focus more on me. People forget that I originally started out as a fashion designer. So I want to get into starting my own line, because I have a couple of boutiques that'll carry it on consignment. So I want to get into finding me a sample maker and producing my line and getting my name out there as a designer, because I miss that too. I love making clothes, and that's always been a passion of mine, to make comfortable, ready to wear clothes for women 25 and older. Sexy, comfortable clothes where you can wear out and you can throw on a necklace and wear to the club with a jacket, something very easy and comfortable that you can just, you don't have to spend a ton of money on. So that's what I'm going to focus on, is kind of focus more on me and less on everybody else.
I absolutely love to dress for comfort now. I mean, if I don't have to wear high heels anymore, I won't.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm so comfortable wearing my Vibram 5-finger shoes and wear them everywhere. So, I don't care if they look weird, but it's all about comfort the older you get. And that's probably something too, like when you go on set, you have to be comfortable as a mom, I'm sure.
Right.
Because I would assume, those are hours you're sitting there. And you have to be so patient. Like, I wouldn't assume that you want to be all decked out and, super hot mom.
Right. And you don't. You just want to be comfortable, because most of the time, if I'm sitting for a while waiting for Sammy, because sometimes I'll take him on set, and I can't just stand right there behind all the cameras and stuff. Yeah. So sometimes I'm sitting for hours, and sometimes at shoots, I'm running all over the place after him. Like the Old Navy shoot was in a big, huge production studio. So the kids had the flexibility to run all over the place. So I was, that shoot, I was up and running everywhere. Like, it was ridiculous.
That's crazy. So anyways, I am, super happy that you came and, shared with us today. Everybody, I want to thank Antoinette for coming on board with us and sharing her enlightening experience. We hope that you reach out to her. If somebody wants to get in touch with you suggest Facebook, or we can leave an email address up.
Yeah. They can Facebook me. I'm on Instagram. I'm on, and mostly it's Sammy on Twitter, but it's under my name. So I'm on Twitter under Sammy McComb.
Okay.
But yeah, they can just basically Facebook me or go to www.ambushevents.com and find me there. So yeah, there's a few ways they can contact me. Just look up Exhibit Ambush or type in my name, Antoinette Love Ransom, on Google, and you'll find different ways you can reach out to me.
So there you have it. If you've got any further questions about starting your child's modeling or acting career, feel free to reach out to Antoinette. We'll be putting the information up on the screen. And I'd like to thank, of course, our sponsors today at Zoom.us and, of course, Live Room, Five Finger Shoes for supporting talent everywhere, especially on Ask Eve, where we're putting social back into social media. Until then, bye-bye.
Thank you.